Good evening, Facebook. Good evening, Facebook. This is Dwayne Hirsch coming to you live on Facebook, talking tonight again about equity crowdfunding. As you guys know, we had a great conversation the other day. Hopefully, we'll get some folks to come on here shortly, and then we can get started. We got a special guest with me here tonight, Mr. Prudeaux, founder of Native Sons of Chicago. He's going to give you some insights about what our first offering is going to be like and what that's going to be all about. And we're going to talk a little bit tonight about how you can benefit from equity crowdfunding. Now, I want to start tonight just by making just pointing out something that I didn't really touch on the other night. Equity crowdfunding is something that was born out of advocacy work, right? So it was whether you were dealing with the federal level, which was instituted through the Jobs Act, or interstate equity crowdfunding, which was done by the Small Business Advocacy Council here, which I was a part of. It was really our advocacy work that really did that. It wasn't legislators acting on their own that saw this opportunity. It was somebody presenting that opportunity to them and showing them the value of it to where they were able to institute it as a part of that law with the Jobs Act, and then ultimately in several different states getting those laws passed. But that was all done through advocacy work, and that's why it's important for you to get involved in organizations like the SBAC, or maybe even your local Chamber of Commerce, Hyde Park Chamber of Commerce, River North, all these different areas that have great chambers of commerce, Lakeview, Beverly, Inglewood. There's a lot of great chambers of commerce out here who take part in our coalitions and help us to be a collective voice that helps to get things like this done. This is not the end in those advocacy efforts. It's really just the beginning. And this year, one of the fights we're going to be going back to is our LLC filing fee fight, to make sure we get those fees lowered, to make, to basically save you that much more money in establishing your business that you can use to put into different areas of service that you need from professionals in our community, like marketing professionals. Let's say that if you pay $500 now to file an LLC, but we can get that fee chopped down to about $40, $50 with the state, that's $400 and something that you can use to market your business, to pay for Facebook ads or pay for print advertising, to hire Kiana Barber to do your graphic design work and get Red Level to do your flyers and your business cards. So there's a lot of ways that we can benefit from what we do advocacy wise. So I don't want to lose sight of that particular point. Very important. And to recap a little bit about what we talked about the other day, we talked about some of the impediments that, these common impediments to sustainable business in the Black community and really throughout the small business community, but we kind of highlight that more because that's where we're from and what we see every day. But it was access to capital, and obviously equity crowdfunding is an answer to that in and of itself. We talked about how equity crowdfunding resolves the issue of support for your business, because now this 500, 200, or even 1,000 or more investors in your business become consumers and customers of your business. And then we talked about customer service and entitlement, how now you can use money that you're not spending for organic marketing for customer, you can use it now for customer service, and how that sense of entitlement that some business owners feel in a community when they start a business, like you're entitled to come and shop there and work and spend your money there without giving you an equivalent level of service. That entitlement actually turns into responsibility and accountability on behalf of a business, on the part of a business owner who's got now 500, 1,000 people that he's got to answer to, sometimes right inside his own immediate community. So those things it's very important to notice that, or to note that, and that's one of the things that we expect to be a driver in this fight, and as we kind of roll this out and show you what equity crowdfunding can really do. There's a lot of industries out there, and I did an event a couple of months ago back in Hyde Park, and this month, make sure that you come out to the Hyde Park Happy Hour on January 18th. Our event is going to be, instead of 6 to 8 this time, it's going to be 7 to 9, but we're going to, of course, be bringing the project straight to you to talk about the real details of Native Sons Project, some of which you can't really get yet tonight because our project is not live. You'll be able to get all of those details at the Hyde Park Happy Hour. That's at the Hyatt Place Hotel, 5225 South Harper, on the 18th of January. We always do it on the third Wednesday of the month. There's always a month or two in the year where it's got to be different, but just stay tuned for those invitations and such. But the thing we talked about there was the fact that in each one of these campaigns, there are separate areas of industry that go into the promotion and the putting together of a successful crowdfunding campaign. Now, in an equity crowdfunding campaign, it's not that much different in terms of who these service providers are than a Kickstarter campaign, except you want them to be real, true professionals in their field so that they can give you the best quality of work for what they do. Those are marketing professionals who can make sure that you get the right video content made, whether that's going to be animation or motion graphics or whatever it is. You want to hire a good marketing company that can put that together. Project managers, public relations, social media managers, folks who can come on here and put together these Facebook Live videos and make sure that they get promoted, or different things that you might post as updates about your project on various social media mediums. You want to have somebody that's good and knows what they're doing that can manage that so that you can stay focused on building the business that you're raising money to build. You want content creation. You want ad copy. You want to be able to do print ads. So those that are at newspapers and magazines, you want to make sure that you're able to present that ad information to people that would be interested in that. And online advertising as well. And then you have events. You know, you can do events like the ones we do in Hyde Park, or you can just have a broader event that you invite people to pitch your concept, to pitch your campaign, or pitch your business as you take it public for the rest of us all to enjoy. So one of the other things that I talked about the other night, Al, and I think that some of the folks kind of hit me back about and they found interesting, was when I talked about athletes, entertainers, and some of our elite business professionals, right? Sometimes we feel like they could do more for the community. We feel like, you know, people talk about how they can inject more of what they make in their incomes into the community. But I made the statement that I think that those are much better. It would be much better to be able to present these types of projects as equity crowdfunding projects that now the community can become a partner with them and really make them feel where everybody has a little bit of skin in the game now. The community that you want them to come in and service has a little skin in the game. What do you really think about that concept?
I do. So at the core of equity crowdfunding investing is the word investing.
Right.
So a lot of times, you know, we look at these athletes, they make so much money, they don't know what to do with it. They're spending it on rims and jewelry and lavish lifestyle. And we want them to invest in us. But we want them to invest by giving it to us, as opposed to actually, and we shouldn't be, you know, ashamed to tell these people, like, listen, if you're willing to invest in our neighborhoods, in our communities, you should get a return on that investment. Everyone else that invests in the community gets a return on their money. Why should these guys be no different? And if their heart's in the right place, again, you know, they should be able to get a return on the investment, because at the end of the day, you know, all the residents of the community are going to be the ones actually reaping the rewards of it. So,
and Chicago is like a farm for professional athletes now. The NBA, Major League Baseball. I went to Simeon. We had tons of pro athletes come out of there. Jabari Parkers and, you know, just tons of people. Derrick Rose, of course. But when we talked to them about putting money back, it would be great for me to be able to sit at the table with one of these guys and show them how the entire community can become their partner. So before we go into the...
I was going to say something. So with every investment, and we know this, investing 101, it's always return of investment and return on your investment. So by them just giving money, that's great. It satisfies, you know, our selfish needs, maybe even our jealousy of the amount of money that they have. But to give them a situation, if they don't get that much of a return on their investment, at least giving them their return on the investment, you know, keeps that same little pool of money going on and on and on and on and on. I mean, at the end of the day, these guys have a very short earning window. You know, maybe 8-10 years if they're lucky. You know, they have to, essentially, after they've splurged all this money on our neighborhoods, they have to actually then live the rest of their lives on, you know, whatever money they were able to save. So, I mean, I think actually this equity crowdfunding actually gives them a very viable way to invest more and then get some of their money back.
Right. Yeah. Now, I see a couple of questions that are coming up in the line, and I'll try to get to those in a minute. But Sharon Carney, I see your question there, and we're going to get to that about Native Sons in Chicago in just a moment. But what I want to do here real quick is I want to point out what today's example is going to be, right? So this company right here, this is a restaurant called Peli Peli in Houston, Texas. We got a lot of friends and I got a lot of family in Houston, Texas. And equity crowdfunding right now is really moving in Texas. But this is a big restaurant in Texas that decided to use equity crowdfunding, just like I mentioned to you the other day, where they were an established restaurant in business with a great model. And what they did was they needed to raise some operating capital, so they used equity crowdfunding to do that. Now, this is a South African fine dining restaurant that's ranked among the top 10 restaurants in Houston by both Yelp and TripAdvisor. They had a 2016 projected revenue of over $5 million. They were featured on CNBC's Restaurant Startup and Food Network's Cutthroat Kitchen. Now, this particular offering that they did was a debt only. So this was like you lending money to them at a minimum of $100 a person. They raised $358,000 from 128 investors, and up to this point, they've made 6 monthly payments back to those investors that put their money in. So this is a great example of how you can take an existing business that you have, or say to make a great example, Sharon, you got a great company that does cleaning. So if you ever decided you wanted to expand, equity crowdfunding would be the type of tool that you could use. You have a great track record, you have great clients, you have elite clients, you have the type of clients that people can really believe in, that are going to give you that consistent level of business, and you provide a great service. So I would invest in your company if we were doing something like that. So now we're going to bring Al back right now, and we're going to talk about Native Sons of Chicago. Native Sons of Chicago is going to be our first intrastate equity offering, and it's built around real estate. Al, go ahead and tell everybody what it's all about.
So I do want to say hello to everybody out there. It's kind of weird. I'm used to giving these speeches in front of big crowds of people, so actually
it's a much bigger crowd.
I was about to say, staring myself on the screen is a little funny for me, so pardon me if I drift off. Anyway, so Native Sons, just to make it very, very simple, Native Sons is a real estate developing company. We take dilapidated houses that need a lot of rehab, and do the rehab and actually deliver a finished product to the community. So it's nothing that you wouldn't be familiar with. Buy property at X, put in Y, and sell it at Z. The thing that makes Native Sons a little bit different, I'll give you just a quick background on myself. I actually used to work for, aside from doing real estate finance for the last 25 years, I did do a stint with the City of Chicago Department of Housing. And a lot of my projects were very familiar to a lot of people that are probably listening to this. I did Robert Taylor, Stateway, Madden Wells, a variety of other smaller projects all across the South Side. And one of the things that I saw, you had these pools of what we would call disadvantaged people, that could really, really use the jobs and the training and all that goes into these multi-billion-dollar projects. When you look at a Robert Taylor, a Stateway, a Madden Wells alone, forget about the West Side projects like Rockwell, Henry Horner. If you combine just those first 3 projects that I mentioned, the budgets for those was over $1 billion. So imagine taking a pool of money, $1 billion, and a pool of people that were living in those areas and matching them together. Well, that's not what happened. What happened when it came time to do the demo, when it came time to rebuild, all the money that got spread around got spread out from outside contractors that came in. So with Native Sons, our mission is to, even though it's buying at X, putting in Y, selling at Z, it's that Y factor. Figuring out all the people that come and get fed off of a lot of these deals, and putting them in a position to reap the rewards of these deals, be it the contractors, be it the electricians, even be the architects, the mortgage people, the title companies, and actually like folding all that together to make a very successful and profitable project for everybody.
Yeah, and see, the thing that I really love about that, and the idea of doing real estate in general, is that like I said the other day, our communities are full of vacant lots, vacant properties, whether they were made through the foreclosure crisis or wherever they come from, short sales, all these different ways that they come into the marketplace. But the jobs that we need to create can come from those properties. A lot of money essentially can be generated from redoing those properties as well. We'll talk a little bit about the jobs piece of the Native Sons project and what that really looks like.
So what we did, and I won't lie to you, when we actually, before Native Sons kind of came around, we would look at these projects and say, okay, let's speed up through Y and get to Z, because Z's the profit. Z's the part where I get paid on these deals. So what we did, we actually took a systematic approach and said all the way down to the most minute kind of job. You have your HVAC, your carpenter, all the way down the line, roofing guys, all that stuff like that. And we said, what if we identified really good, I don't mean just somebody off the street, but I mean really good licensed bonded African-American contractors to do these jobs. And what if we asked them, for every project that we do, if they'd be willing to take a certain number of non-skilled apprentices. Now, whatever job, for all my construction people out there, whatever job you do have that unskilled laborer kind of piece to it, right? That hauls, that does the demolition, that does all that kind of good stuff like that. But what if you also, if you were a carpenter, taught them carpentry? You're not going to learn carpentry on one job. Right. You're not going to learn plumbing on one job, electrical on one job. But for that guy that has no experience, and maybe the unions out there aren't giving him the break that he may need or may want, what if you took him as your apprentice? Right. And so we looked at that. We looked at all the numbers of people that we would do, and we were like, wait, when you combine the businesses and the people, 39 people get fed off of every deal. At least 39 people. 39 people. 39 people. And if you followed our model, of those 39, at least 10 are those guys from off the corner that really wouldn't be on the corner but for the fact that they have nowhere else to go. Well, we're giving them jobs, we're giving them opportunities, and not so much even really giving them the job. Because you say to yourself, okay, well, you're paying them a little bit of money and you're, getting them off the corner, that's great. But what's the point really in this kind of situation is to teach them carpentry. Not so much so they can go and work for like a McHugh or a Walsh or something like that, but so they can one day form their own construction company, their own carpentry company, their own electrical subcontractor, and have it spread out, kind of from there. So that's really been the goal behind, that piece of it.
Right. That's excellent. And the project is going live. We expect it to be approved to go live somewhere around the 15th of the month. Another key date to keep in mind, so we have January 15th, which is the day we expect our project to be ready to go live. January 17th, which is the big press conference at 1871, where you're going to see a larger scale rollout of equity crowdfunding. So again, it moves beyond just me talking about it and kind of blowing this trumpet. It's going to kind of move its way into the mainstream in the state of Illinois that day. And then our event at the Hyde Park Happy Hour, of course, again, is on January 18th. So it's going to be rapid. We're going to be moving. I want you to do just like you guys did the other day. We're over 1,200 views on our video from the other day, but we want you to continue to share the video and make sure that people are informed about this, because as we come into it, we want to make sure that nobody, in a sense, that wants to be involved in it gets left behind. So next week, and what I want you to do is if you guys are Facebook friends with me, or you can see my name on this video, of course, you can inbox me and tell me if you're really interested in investing as little as $250 into a project like that to make sure that what our mission is with Native Sons kind of gets carried out, to rebuild properties in our communities. In the same time, we're going to create jobs in that process, and it's going to be a win-win situation for everybody that's involved in the project. And then there's going to be so many more projects that come forward. There's people that have been contacting me, really it didn't just start now, but it's been going on for months and months, where folks are kind of just chomping at the bit and kind of laying at the ready to watch and see, hey, we're going to see this thing roll out. We're going to watch the big press conference, and then we're going to be ready to move into action. Some of those are restaurateurs who want to use it as a tool to expand. And to reiterate the point about that is, if you're a restaurant owner, like this example that we showed up here just a minute ago, you get the opportunity to have people invest in your business that essentially become the consumers, the mainline consumers of your business, and they become marketers of your business by default. So this business here in Houston, I'd venture to say that every one of those, 128 people who put that money into that project, that 128 people are all eating at that restaurant and or sending friends and family to that restaurant to eat, because that's how they got to get that those monthly payments back for basically what amounted to a crowdfunded loan that was given to that restaurant in order to, or invested in that restaurant, I should say, in order to infuse it with the capital it needed to kind of build on what it was doing. And it seems to have been doing some pretty outstanding stuff. If there's anybody who's been at that restaurant, I'd love for you to chime in and tell us what you think of that restaurant. And maybe when I get down to Houston later this year, I'll be able to go down there and check it out myself. But equity crowdfunding, again, guys, is one of those things that it's not something that you should really take lightly, because the public at large is going to be heavily involved in this and heavily engaged in it. And if we don't get involved in it, we're going to get left behind by it. And that's really, for me, that's the big deal. It's, being a part of projects like Native Sons, of course, is a great benefit to me. Being part of the projects that you guys might put forth and some of the ones that are being talked about is going to be fun. But for me, it's making sure that we're on the front of this information and that we can really, really take advantage of the opportunity that's really here in front of us. I have a good friends, Mark Harris, Christopher Nolan, Richard Gallion with plays, Margaret Mockdy with plays. They do so much great work in entertainment, right? But every time they start one of their projects, they have to look for investors to pay for the theater, the talent, for the movies, the different things that they need. Those are projects that we could very easily crowdfund and make a ton of money on, because they're very profitable projects. They budget them right. They manage them well. Chris and Mark have been in movie theaters. Richard Gallion has done his plays down at Bronzeville Cultural Center, and so has Margaret. And at the Chicago Theater coming up, I think she's done one down there. So just people in that type of sphere will do very well with that. Restaurateurs and any businesses you can think of.
Oh, man, I said, every business that looks for investment. See, it becomes a thing of, I've been in lending and investment for the last 25 years. So if you take the equity part off of every investment is an equity play. If you go to Starbucks has shareholders. If you go to Chipotle has shareholders. It's really just a matter of how much that impacts specific communities and how much you reap the rewards from it. Mm-hmm. So for our, just talking about Native Sons here for a second, we only have 2,000 units we're selling, period. Chipotle, they have millions of shares outstanding right now. Yeah. So, and they're a big brand, they're a worldwide brand. They have stores everywhere. I'm sure most of our listeners have been to at least 1 or 2 or 10 of their stores, around the world. But our projects are all local. If you ever have a question as to, are these guys doing what they say they're doing, it's nothing more than, in some cases, a quick walk around the corner or a drive down the street. So, we're very, in that we're limiting the amount of people that can come into these projects as far as investors, investment capital. We are very local. We are very hands-on. And, if you run into me at a project and you invested, just come and say hello to me and I may take you to Starbucks.
And another thing that I can't really stress enough is that equity crowdfunding is now the law in the state of Illinois. It's the law on a federal level as well. But these laws are not really at risk of being changed by any unfavorable political figures that you might be thinking might not have our best interests at heart. It's the law now that we can use, we can work, we can take advantage of, and I don't expect that we're going to have any issues with that. Like you were saying, all businesses, just about any business you can think of, there are no businesses that are really restricted from it. Any restrictions would come from the type of structure you have or management capability, different things like that. And I'm going to reiterate again that once our project does go live, the Native Sons project and any project that you see go live on interstate equity crowdfunding is going to be a project that's been vetted by both the Secretary of State on the back end, but on the front end, the portal owners will vet the project and make sure that it's right, that it's not, something fraudulent or some type of game you're playing. and that it's a viable opportunity that people will, want to invest in. And then it goes to the Secretary of State. Your filing paperwork and everything has to get done. So again, it's something that you're going to have to come correct in. They're going to be people. We got a lot of professionals out there that are excellent at doing business plans, pitch decks, private placement memorandums. We got some great attorneys in our community. So we have people who can put these projects together on all of these various levels. And again, as the projects kick off, if you're in marketing, project management, public relations, social media management, content creation, online and print ads, you got great opportunities out there. Events, Eve Bridgeforth and people like that who do wonderful, wonderful events can find ways to kind of wrap that into some of these campaigns that make sense and make great things happen. I know if I was to be doing a project like this, the first thing I would do is have somebody like Eve do a big event there, bring out her Summer Breeze Jazz event there and do that and wrap it around what we're trying to do offering wise. So you get the opportunity to be creative in how you do it and bring those professionals to the table that you know and love that can help you get that project pushed along the way.
And I will, and to kind of piggyback on that, if you look at this project right here, they had 128 investors. Now, that's not to say that 128 investors are from the Houston area, but if it's an interstate crowdfunding thing for us, and it's in Chicago, more than likely, you have obviously the whole state of Illinois, but more than likely it's going to be within the Chicago area. Within 50 miles of your restaurant. So imagine having a situation where you say, listen, we're going to have a special night, maybe some specials on the menu, but just for the investors. And every investor just bring a friend. Because you're not going to go to a restaurant, a sit-down restaurant by yourself. You're going to go with 1 or 2 or 3 people. Well, already you're at close to 400 people just that were your investors, just your advocates. People that aren't going to give you a bad Yelp review because they want you to succeed. And how often do you, for you restaurateurs out there, how often you get 400 people on any given night in your restaurant that no matter how good the food is, I'm not saying the food's not good there, but I'm saying they're your advocates when they walk in the door, not when they walk out the door. So that alone, it just binds you to the community in a way that, a regular investment for me, if I were to give you that same, $350, you wouldn't get that same level of support from me that you would get from 128 other regular investors.
Great point you make there, because someone asked me one day, why invite 500 or 1,000 people to invest in something when you can just get 1 or 2 or 5 to invest in? It seems like a much easier thing to do, but you lose that effect. Excuse me, guys, I got a little bit of a cough. But you lose that effect of having that 500 or 1,000 people come and patronize what it is that you're doing, patronize the business, and become organic marketers of the opportunity, which is very important. So those people will share this is great, go down there, eat, drink, be merry. People are going to promote and support that business. And again, that's going to save you money in marketing that you can use in other areas of the business.
Right, and so take Native Sons, for instance. I keep coming back to Native Sons because I'm being selfish about this. But for me as a real estate developer, you're saying to yourself, well, why would I even need investors? We really don't. But we bring in investors. What does bringing the local crowd into our campaign do? Well, it drastically reduces my marketing costs on the back end. Because now I have 200, 300, 1,000 investors that know about all the projects when they're coming online. So, if it's a local project and we have a lot of local investors, you get to pick who your neighbors are. We're not trying to flip these houses or sell these houses to another investor that's then going to sell to another investor to another investor. We're looking for home ownership, a home ownership piece.
Stability.
So now you're picking your neighbors in a way that you couldn't pick them before. And, you actually are taking control of your neighborhood at an amount of money that you normally can't take control of a neighborhood with.
Yeah, it's very nominal. And it's not, it's the other day I put up the kind of the image of that report that I have. And if anybody wants that report, you can inbox me and I'll send it to you. Inbox me your email address. It's called The Buying Power of Black America.
Very
It kind of breaks that whole thing out and lets you know that, folks got money.
Yeah.
It's not, and for the entry level on this project here, it was only $100. Native Sons will be $250. So these are very small amounts of money. This is what some of us spend on lunch, a couple of times, a couple of dinners, or a pair of gym shoes. That's
right.
That's a pair of gym shoes and a pair of jeans or something like that these days. So, it's not something that everybody's gonna, you're gonna break the bank necessarily to go do.
Right.
Now, also, there are an extensive amount of protections that are written into equity crowdfunding for the consumer, and a part of that is where the way that those limits are set up to keep a person from being able to overexpose themselves on any one project at any given time. So your limit is going to be $5,000 per year in any given project. So the expectation of that is that amount of money is not enough to drive a person from doing well to doing horrible. You put that at risk. Again, there is a risk still involved with it, but that risk is mitigated in some cases by the amount of people that are in a project, and it's obviously spread out through that amount of people. But it's also something that if you're engaged in it and you really work hard to see what it is that's the vision of this company like Native Sons, it's a vision there. And if you can see that and decide that you're going to invest in that, then that's something that when it's done,
right,
and it works, you're going to say, damn, I did that. I actually was one of the people that invested in it. Whether you live in the neighborhood where the properties are located or not, you're still going to say, man, I helped to do that, because you're going to see it on the news. You're going to see it in different mediums of exchange. In a way, we're going to push it out there because we got to hire somebody for public relations. So if you're interested in that, let us know. We need people for marketing. We need social media management. So if, let's see, a Twin Media Group is going to come out and write a proposal for us, fine. Today, that contractor call that I listed earlier for contractor referrals, we're going to be interviewing a lot of those folks to see if they fit the program. We actually set today an interview with a contractor, and it was a great meeting to find out what it is that he can bring to the table if he's going to do general contracting services for Native Sons. So we're offering opportunities to people. This is something that we're doing this, and we want everybody to support that effort. So
yeah. And it becomes a thing, and then there's the big cliche like invest in yourself. And how do you invest in yourself? Maybe you go to school and you rack up $150,000 worth of student loans. You invest in yourself by taking small classes, like small seminars. Realize we're actually doing real estate projects and hiring real people. And I'll tell you what, if I were a general contractor, I'd be the first one to invest. Because A, regardless I would make money, and B, it would put me on the inside to, at least for my project, to get that job. So imagine if we gave a speech not that long ago. We talked about one of the guys in the audience was a realtor. And I said on a $200,000 project, he does a split and cut, and we did the whole like 5% commission example. I was like, on that kind of a project, what would your commission be? And it worked out that his commission would be like $5,000. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what if we, if you were the realtor on 3 of our projects, how much would that be worth to you? It'd be worth $15,000, right? So why does it not make sense for him to invest as much as he can in our company? Because not only does he get the reward from the return on the investment, but he actually has an inside track on actually being one of the service contractors, that we use. So I mean, again, if you're going to invest in yourself, I mean, these kind of projects. Now it doesn't have to be Native Sons. I mean, it could be a variety of other. I mean, you may be in the restaurant business. You may be a service or 2 restaurants, a product service or cups. I don't know what you may make, but just that, a cleaning service. But you got to position yourself to the point where I'm going to make a return on my investment and a return of my investment. Yeah. And I may actually the return you get on your investment may be far more than any average return I may give you on your investment. It may actually be the job creation, the service contracts that you get from the relationships themselves. So,
right. And a lot of the conversation that we've been having here today, and what I had the other day, was really about the effects of equity crowdfunding in our community. But you got to know something. As this starts to kind of mushroom out you're going to get opportunities to invest in things that you may not have had an opportunity to invest in before in other areas of the city. You'll be able to invest in restaurants like this, perhaps in Bucktown and Wicker Park, Lincoln Avenue, thriving areas that have entertainment hubs and stuff like that, real estate in those areas. You'll be able to really diversify yourself. So as a Main Street person, you have an opportunity to have a diversified portfolio of Main Street investments in community-based, whether it's our community, like say, when I say our community, I'm talking like South Side where I live, Hyde Park, Bronzeville, that type of area, or Bucktown, Wicker Park, Humboldt Park, all of these different areas right now that are thriving. We get the opportunity to invest a little bit of our money there and earn from the benefit of what is going on in those communities as well. So it's an ecumenical opportunity. It's something that doesn't keep anybody out. It lets everybody in, and the only person that's excluded from it is the person that excludes his or herself. And that's really one of the things about this that really drives me, because we've always like, man, and the only people can get in there, you got to be one of the mayor's friends, or you got to know somebody. Let's say you got to know somebody to be there. The game is to be sold and not to be told.
Right. And that's actually a good point. So with a lot of this equity crowdfunding talk, the focus goes on with the ability for everybody to invest. And that was the whole point. Actually, the whole mechanism didn't start because of that. We were doing PPM, private placement memorandums, which is usually the precursor to an IPO, initial public offering. So whenever you do those kind of offerings, which is what really is at the crux of crowdfunding, the main rule that triggered all this avalanche was the fact that you couldn't advertise. So the only way you would get investments, I wouldn't be doing a Facebook, it would actually be legal for me to do a Facebook Live. I would have to only talk to people I already had an existing business relationship with. And so with the advent of social media, it was hard to keep that in place. So the government had to find a way for the Goldman Sachs's, the Morgan Stanleys of the world, to be able to let their clients advertise their projects. Now what happened with that, once you had all this knowledge coming out there, you had to say, okay, well, now that everybody knows about the deal, we should also let everybody be able to invest in the deal. And that's kind of where this equity crowdfunding has really evolved to. So it really didn't start with being able to have you essentially like drive the bus like we do now. Now it's always meant for you to follow the bus. So it's always meant for you to still be one step behind the game. But now that everything's out in the open and everything's very transparent, it's a situation now where they're opening the door and letting the average mom and pop in and actually be able to invest. So
right. And I want to thank a few people today for tuning in with us and their inputs, all of which I can't answer right now. But Jordan Sorrell, great to see you, sir. Ron Vergara, my man. L. Kirk Wilson, Larry Minatello, the Minuteman, and Sharon Carney, of course, Najaris, and Shara Kamal. Melody Winston says she has a training going on right now for unskilled labor. So Melody, that's probably something we can connect on and talk about. Feel free to inbox me. Anybody that wants to call me, I'm always very open in public with my number is 630-728-2414. Grover, Calvert, give me a call. I'll be happy to call T. I don't have his number right now, but inbox me a number or give me a call. My number's still the same, and we can connect on that. So guys, again, we'll be doing more of these videos on different areas of this subject matter leading up to the time when our project launches around the 15th, and then the press conference on the 17th. We'll be talking about the legal ramifications of equity crowdfunding. We'll talk a little bit more about the portals. We'll talk a little bit more about what you need to do to set up. But I want you to share this video. Let's continue to keep that buzz alive. My hope in this is to be an instrument that will help to save a lot of people in our communities by helping them to get work that they need, helping you to get money that you need through these projects and through the investments that we make in these projects, help to rebuild our community, and take advantage of the fact that really we're on the acres of diamonds things. Everything that we need, the resources we need are right under our feet. All we got to do is dig them out and take advantage of what's in front of us. And I think we'll be well on our way to having a great 2017.
Exactly. In that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, they always talk about what's between an asset and a liability. And very, very simply, I guess Kiyosaki says, A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. An asset puts money in your pocket.
Right.
So think about all the stuff you spend your money on right now. And again, I would love for you to invest in Native Sons of Chicago. But if you don't, and you invest in a restaurant like this, or a variety of other different, businesses that are going to be coming in front of you, just think about, like, are those projects going to put money in your pocket? And if you say yes, then now's the time to start doing it, because if you don't, somebody else will.
And we're going to have a database of those professionals. So I'll run those off again before I get off the line here tonight. Marketing, project management, public relations, social media management, content creation like copywriters, online advertisers, whether that be Chicago Defender perhaps, DNA Info, print advertisers, also radio, WVON is a great choice for that, and then event planners. So if any of you know professionals in that arena, or if you're a professional in those arenas, feel free to inbox me to make sure you become a part of our database where we can refer other people to you who will be starting these projects. I expect to get contacted by quite a few people who will be starting these projects. Anybody that you know who's good at writing business plans and pitch decks, it's going to be very important there. So this is an opportunity for a new revenue stream for a lot of you, and a lot of you who currently have existing businesses that are up and running well. You get an opportunity now to look at how you can expand that, how you can take your business to the next level. The tool is here. And I'll say it to you just like this. Once a person has given you a fishing rod to fish with, it's disrespectful to turn around and ask for another fish. And it's disrespectful to yourself to ask for another fish. So we have what we need, in my opinion, with this and several other things that are out there and around us. We have what we need to be successful. We just need to have the belief in each other, pay attention to what's going on, and engage in advance for our people and for the entirety of the city of Chicago and the small business community.
And that's the thing. This concept of equity crowdfunding, even though it's a new Illinois initiative, is not a new concept. I've been giving, we've been doing them together separately, giving speeches all over the city, and to some groups, put it that way, this isn't a new concept. They're very much on board with this concept. Right. It's a lot of us that have never been exposed to this kind of thing, and now we're trying to bring ourselves up to speed. But a good portion of the population kind of gets the gist of what's going on, and it's just really bringing us up to speed with them.
Oh, and also I'll be doing I guess you'll probably be joining me for that. We'll be doing a lunchtime presentation in Barrington. If anybody's in the Barrington area, Laura McFarland Taylor, if you're watching, you better be there so we can finally meet. But we'll be doing a presentation out in Barrington. They're excited and want to know more about equity crowdfunding and the Native Sons project. So if you're out there in that area, inbox me and I'll send you the information on that presentation that's going to be done that day. That's going to be on the 12th, I believe. It's right. The 12th or the 13th. Need to check my calendar, but that'll be it. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Share the video. Feel free to inbox me any questions that you have or call me. I left the number earlier. And we'll be back to see you again in the next couple of days with more information about equity crowdfunding. Bye. Thank you very much.